Here in a minute, just gonna ask everybody to silence their phones if they haven't done so. Copy the rules of the council meeting are on the front counter. That we'll call the meeting to order. Please stand for the pledge. Here by Pastor Ian. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, in this season of joy and reflection, we come before you with a heart full of gratitude for the gift of community and the opportunity to serve the people of Blissfield. As we gather tonight, we are reminded of the message of Christmas, peace on earth and goodwill toward all. May that spirit guide our discussions and decisions. We ask for your wisdom to rest upon the council members, that they may lead with integrity, compassion, and fairness. Help us to focus on the needs of our village, especially those who may be struggling during this time of the year. Grant us creativity and unity as we seek solutions and strive to make Blissfield a place of hope and light for all. Bless the families and the individuals in our village, and may your love shine through our actions and decisions. Let this season inspire us to serve selflessly, to build bridges of understanding, and to reflect your grace in all we do. Thank you for the gift of your Son, whose birth reminds us of the importance of humanity, generosity, and love. We pray in Jesus' name, the Prince of Peace. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Pastor. Lisa, go ahead and call roll, please.
Mike Gunner,
Here.
Gwen Dusa,
Here.
Bill Gritzmaker,
Here.
Sherry Luce, Eric Rogers,
Here.
Timothy Waters.
All right. First on the agenda, we have minutes from our last meeting, November 24th. Need a motion to approve.
Move to approve the minutes of November 25, 2024 as presented.
Motion is set forth to approve the minutes of November 25th, 2024 as presented. Any discussion? Now, please call roll.
Eric,
Yes.
Sherry, Gwen.
Yeah.
Tim,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes. Motion carries. Up next are presentations and communications. Got two from Danielle. Danielle, I'll turn it over to you.
The first one is just council emails. I put the information in there. This has come up a couple times. And been posed to me to switch from the generic trustee 1, 2, 3, etc. emails to your main emails or something where it would be more personalized for each of the council members. That is available to do. So I pulled the information. Microsoft is changing their pricing to subscription based, so it's $30 per month. We would have to retain those emails for 2 years according to the records retention once a trustee leaves and is no longer with the village. So we'd have to maintain that email for the 2 years following. So I just wanted to share this information with you guys so that you would have it. And if you want this on an agenda for consideration or future action, let me know. We would have to amend the budget because I don't have that cost built in there now. Obviously, hopefully you will all be here for the next couple of years. So we wouldn't have to see that change until those new people leave, but I would have to maintain the current trustee ones for that period. But if you have questions, let me know.
Okay, thank you for that. And then discussion on the filling of the vacancy in council.
Yes, so this is on the agenda in two different spots. The first part is the interview portion of the council vacancy position. But before we get into that, I did want to just share a couple of things with you all. There's the 5 questions that were created by you guys previously. Those are on your agenda, and I did print out a copy for you each to have. You also have, it would be my recommendation, and you of course can change this, but my recommendation would be we follow the same process that we have the last 2 times we've filled a vacancy. And how you guys have done that is you've done the interview questions, and then you have rated the candidates with, so for example, there's 4, with 4 being the top rated candidate and so on. And then you've used that to help guide you making a motion and supporting that. If you pass the forms to me, I would tally them up. Those voting forms have your name. They are public record. So none of that, and anybody can view that or request copies of it. It's really just used as a way to help streamline the motion process so that we're not racing to have motions, or we don't have multiple motions on the floor that are being considered. And then I would recommend, if you guys want to add any questions, that you would ask that of each of the candidates. Obviously, you can ask for clarification or something specific to that person. But otherwise, just for consistency and to be fair to each of the candidates, they should all be asked the same. I do want to let you guys know that we did receive 1 additional application in the mail today. And I don't know that he's here.
No.
No, right. From Christopher Fleming, I did notate on the advertisement that postmark was not acceptable. I did call Mr. Fleming today. I did not talk to him. I left him a message. I let him know that and did share with him that this was on the agenda tonight and that it would ultimately be up to you guys if you chose to waive that requirement or not. I didn't hear back, so I don't know if he got my message, but my recommendation was that we did say no postmark so that we could ensure to have all of those applicants to be included in the packet. But if you have questions on that, let me know. And then the last thing I would just say to the candidates and to council, in the past, we've asked the candidates that each of you will be asked the questions 1 at a time, and we've asked just that out of common courtesy for the other candidates that you step into the conference room and let each candidate ask those questions without overhearing. We cannot require that of you. We cannot make you do that. So if you choose not to, you will stay in here, but it's just, we feel like it's to be fair to each of you to get the opportunity to answer freely, and then whoever goes first or last isn't kind of under the pressure of having to hear everybody else and then try to live up to that. But otherwise, I think that kind of covers everything, unless you guys have questions. I listed the candidates alphabetically by last name too, so there's no rhyme or reason there otherwise. Recommendation, yes, just, I don't know, just trying to logically make sense how to do that.
Are you recommending interviews now or down in the?
So I would do interviews now, and then under new business is when you would complete your rating form, have any discussion, and actually make the motion.
Correct, yeah, let's just go through with a pile of papers that we've got here. So vacancy questions, does anyone want to add or delete anything? It sounds like Gwen wants to possibly add one.
No.
A question?
Yeah,
Sorry.
My apologies, yes. For a question, yes, I will have a question to ask all of the individuals that are on.
Okay. Council, in general consensus, okay, if there's one more, add another.
I'll ask the same question.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask the same question for all candidates.
All right, second, we just said we'll go through alphabetical order. Do we want to discuss Mr. Fleming's consideration?
If you want to discuss it, the rules apply to everybody. And I say, sorry about your luck.
You know,
I would agree. I think we were full time.
all right, sounds like a general consensus that we will negate that one, just the rules. All right, with that, We will start with Diane Burgermeister. You're up. Welcome. Step
I'm just
out
gonna
for a
make
second.
sure that light.
I turned it on. Yeah, I did turn it on.
If it stayed up.
We'll just go ahead and start with Sherry and go down the list. If that works for you guys. Welcome, Diane.
Chair. Please describe your previous work in the community and how these experiences qualify you for a position on the council.
Well, I've been on the planning commission for about 8 years. And I think I've worked well with the group. I prepared for each meeting and I'm responsive to the public when they participate and are present. So I think that's says it all.
Yeah, sure.
Could you please give some examples of group decision-making you have been involved with, and how those experiences could be utilized on the council?
Yes, I have been a faculty member at Medina University and I worked with different curriculum committees and with administration. I try to listen to both sides of an issue. I elicit feedback from people on the committee. I do form my own opinions and express them. And I think that's about all that I can think of right now. I'm just a good group member too.
Diane, if you would please describe how you would react to a situation in which the council voted 4-3 to approve of a very contestable issue when you were on the dissenting side.
Well, again, I would have taken a lot of time to listen to all the opinions and all sides of an issue. I would form my own opinion and express that, and I would just have to keep my emotions out of it and go forth with what I thought was right.
Hey, Diane, good evening. Please name 3 qualities the council member should have.
I think the ability to listen to residents is very important. Their voice matters. Being prepared when you come to a meeting, doing your research, doing your homework. And listening to other people on the council.
Welcome, Diane. Would you please describe how you would like the village of Blissfield to look in the next 5 years?
I think I'd like us to continue to maintain the safety, manage the traffic flow. I'd like to see more greenery in the area, more opportunities for participants to exercise. I think that there needs to be a balance between the bills that residents pay and also the opportunities available to them. And to try to meet the needs, of the residents. I think Blissfield looks pretty good right now. The one major issue are some of the buildings that need to be updated and renovated.
Thank you. I don't know, you can read it the second one now. Yeah, I'll just do it now.
Yeah, might as
That's
well.
cool, sorry, thank you. How do you approach decisions regarding events that involve alcohol? You want me to read it again?
No,
Okay. I may have read it too fast.
how do I approach the events? Like what?
Well,
do you
decisions,
mean?
example, how do you approach decisions regarding events that involve alcohol? We have several events, Wassail Fest, there is the geez, there's Blissfield on tap, and, Yuletide, there's,
Some bingo.
thank you, yeah, Bingo and that. So there are opportunities for alcohol events, as well as river raising festival, things of that nature that have to kind of go through council. And was just curious of how, those people that are crying for the appointment, what would your decision making be on those type of events?
Well, I would expect adults to, use their own, judgment in the use of alcohol. I would, probably want to have some kind of measure in there for people underage, to not be involved or have access. It would need to be, I guess, at a time and place that's safe for everybody to enjoy themselves. And I think the type of activity would have to be, maybe limited time wise, and, be supervised. So that safety could be a factor.
Thank you.
What three adjectives would you use to describe yourself?
Well, I'm conscientious, I do my homework, I do the research. As I said, I listen to, all the sides of an issue. If I agree with someone, I really like them to elaborate more on what they're saying. I'm a good team member. And I work well with people. I like to see the group, go forward. And work and want the best for the group too.
Thank you.
Anything else you wanna tell council or tell us about yourself?
No, I wish I had had these questions. I could write an essay on
It's
each
hard.
of them.
Thanks, Diane,
Yeah,
appreciate it. Someone who wants to grab this land with. Able to grab. Thank you, Jay, appreciate it.
No, I gotta wait.
Wait,
Brandon's going.
okay. Jennifer,
Hello.
how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. List of 7 questions that we're just gonna go down the line here and ask you, and we'll give you all the time to answer that you want. So we'll start with Sherry.
Please describe your previous work in the community and how these experiences qualify you as a position on council.
I'm actively involved in the community. I regularly attend the council meetings and I'm currently on the planning commission. And I also volunteer. I'm a past River Raisin Festival volunteer and I volunteered for Yuletide this year. I use that as a way to stay connected with the residents and support various community initiatives. These experiences have helped me to understand local governance through direct involvement in council meetings and planning and building strong community relationships. My consistent service and willingness to support our town's growth position me to contribute as a council member and ensuring decisions reflect the best interests of the residents.
Good evening, Jennifer. Could you please give some examples of group decision-making you have been involved with and how those experiences could be utilized on our council?
Well, I've gained extensive experience in consensus building through various committees that I've been a part of in my professional career, such as credentials committee and bylaws committee, and a lot of those deal with laws and state regulations. They require analytical thinking and adherence to processes, along with navigating sensitive issues. In addition, with my work on the planning commission, I have an enhanced ability to balance differing opinions and make decisions that serve the community.
Jennifer, if you would please describe how you would react to a situation in which the council voted 4-3 to approve a very contestable issue, and you were on the dissenting side.
First, it's important to respect the decision and to respect the democratic process. I would also do my part to implement that decision and to hopefully it'll be as successful, but I will also remain engaged and if it wasn't being successful, then I would not be opposed to revisiting that. But it's important to respect the decision and to help it be successful.
And Jennifer, you named 3 qualities a council member should have.
Effective and honest communication, collaborative and ethical decision-making, and dedicated commitment to public service.
Thank you.
I did put a lot of thought into these over the weekend.
Thanks, Jennifer. I'd like to ask you to please describe how you would like the village of Blissfield to look in the next 5 years.
Well, I think it looks pretty good already, but I'd like to see continued economic growth, like a sustainable economy, walkable streets and enhanced green spaces, enhanced infrastructure, and even environmental sustainability. Like there has been some talk about putting in an EV charger at some point. And so I think those are all good things because you want to maintain the charm that we have, but you also need to implement like some modern advances in technology too.
Thank you. And then my second question is going to be the question I'm asking everyone that was not on the list, okay? And it's basically, how do you approach decisions regarding events that involve alcohol?
Well, that's a really good question.
Well, thank you.
I'm not opposed to drinking. I'm not a big drinker, but not just alcohol, anything. If it's not something I'm interested in, but it's legal and the residents are interested in it, then I'll support it. But that doesn't mean I have to participate. So, but if it's in the interest of a village residents, then I'll support that. But if it's something I'm not interested in personally, I don't have to participate. Does that make sense?
It does. Thank you. That was my question.
That's a good question.
I told this how.
It's all Phil.
My turn. What 3 adjectives would you use to describe yourself?
Principled, engaged, and integrity.
Good.
Anything else you want to inform, tell the council, share before we move on?
Well, you know, I was here 2 years ago to do this and I'm like, feel more confident now and I believe I'm a better communicator and I took the advice that I was given and I got more involved in the community. I started attending all the council meetings and planning commission and I really like this village and really want what's best for it and for the people who live there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time and consideration. If you would, never mind, Mr. Murphy, you're up, sir. What do you?
How you doing?
Good. All right, so 7 questions. Sherry, we'll go and start. Make sure you speak up for the mic. Sherry would.
Mine is loud.
Something that doesn't count.
Normally I'm too loud. Please describe your previous work in community and how these experiences qualify you for the position on council.
Well, I worked in the factory for 42 years. And UAW, I was the chairman. So, and I've been in this community my entire life. It's a nice place to live. I do like it. Now that I'm retired, I'd like to give back. Could you please give some examples of group decision-making you have been involved with and how those experiences could be utilized on the council? like I said, I was chairman of local 3037 for years, and went through an awful lot just like this, you know, and I know what the procedures are.
Carson, if you would please describe how you would react to a situation in which the council voted 4-3 to approve a very contestable issue, and you were on the dissenting side.
I would vote the way I feel that it needed to go, no matter what. You know, let it drop where it may. The words come on.
Murphy. He's named 3 qualities a council member should have.
Well, I don't think they should be a super criminal. You know, I think they should, be sound of mind. Not a nut. And, live in the community. I think they should appreciate this community as much as the law, you know, allow us to.
Thank you.
Welcome, Mr. Murphy. My 2 questions. The first is, please describe how you would like the village of Blissfield to look in the next 5 years.
Well, looks pretty good now. It's a hard question because I really enjoy living here and have for more years than a lot of people are old. So, yeah. There's a few changes, updates and stuff like that, but other than that, I think it's a good place to live.
We do too. So I'm just looking ahead for the next 5 years. Thank you. And then the second question, please, is how do you approach decisions regarding events that involve alcohol?
Well, I'm not opposed to alcohol. I don't drink anymore, but you know, a lot of people enjoy it, and I'm just not opposed to it. It should be regulated. Definitely.
Thank you for the answers.
Right. So, what 3 adjectives would you use to describe yourself? What 3 adjectives would you use to describe yourself?
Well, I don't know. I hadn't really thought a lot about these questions. Kind of coming at me, but I would say I'm honest. And you know, I pay my bills. And I've lived here for a long time and would like to be, you know, my chance to drive.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, sir. Right. Brandon's gonna grab a pen. Ben, welcome back.
Hi, thanks.
All right, so we've got a list of 7 questions. We're just gonna go through. Gwen's got 2, but we're gonna start with Sherry, and we'll go ahead and put on the line question.
Thank you.
Please describe your previous work in the community and how these experiences qualify you for a position on council.
Okay. Well, in years past, I've served as a Little League coach, upward basketball coach, and back in the 90s, I was a library board member and officer. Working with kids and adults, different skill levels, helping them learn new skill levels, teaching them skill levels, and working as a team to improve the team, move the team forward, handling success, handling when we win, and handling loss, you know, both individually and as a team. Kid can have a great game as a pitcher or a hitter, and the team loses, and he's trying to figure out why they let him down. So working with kids in that fashion. With the library, involved working with both the board and the library director. It was Barb Klump at the time. So we'd have to go back and check the dates on that. I don't remember, but if you remember Mrs. Klump. So we dealt and worked with her some personnel issues, remodeling campaign that we had done was pretty extensive. We had to shut down the library for a time. Dealing with the vendors, handling bids and holding those vendors to accountability. We also worked at creating policies that were beneficial to the public and to the library director for Mrs. Klump as well, that would allow her to do her job more efficiently. Currently, I'm on the Parade of Lights Committee, and we divide our responsibilities and then we follow through on them. If anyone's able to perform their duties, then those just get reassigned and we do them. Last year's event, we had 3 people on our committee that were out, either sick or surgery recovery. So all of a sudden we're slammed and we're trying to get things done, and we did. And we ended up recruiting some other people who were also volunteering as well to help us step up. So we all worked together on that. The last couple of years, I've worked with Julie Gold. Julie and I have been the bingo callers for the brunch and bingo. And we just make a good time of it. And it seems to go over well the way that we partner. So what these experiences have shown me is that I cannot just work within what I like to do and what I want to do, but to be prepared to do more when the team requires it. And I see that same thing happen with council, similarly reflecting as a group, yet with individual members. I can tell, having attended meetings, what pretty much excites you. Just observing that these things are important, these various issues, each one of you has something that's important. And while that's what you like to do, sometimes there are things that you have to do. That the issue requires it, or the event requires it, and so you all step up, and I've seen participation from everyone.
Thank you. Eric?
Good evening, Ken. Could you please give some examples of group decision-making you've been involved with and how those experiences could be utilized on the council?
Well, at one time I was on the board for the Care Pregnancy Center of Illinois for 6 years. I think about 5 of those I was president of the board. One of the big things that we had accomplished, or that I had accomplished with my team, is I put together an interview process and obtained questions, developed a questionnaire, developed a scoring system, much like what you guys are using tonight, and brought that to the board. And then the board reworked it. And what I had to do was allow my work to be critiqued. I had to allow people to say, I think that's not a good question. I think we could ask that better. And I'm thinking, I made that question. What are they talking about? But we all had to get forward. We had to move forward with it. And so it was important for me to set aside my personal emotion on that, on how it was created, and allow them to be part of the creation process with it. Because it was something that the whole board had to buy into in order to select a new executive director. And we had done that twice while I was on the board. So I was involved in helping to select that. And then another example is I used to work at Blissfield Manufacturing. And part of my job at the time was testing the new refrigerants and new oils and determining their compatibility with our belt-driven compressors. And I was just part of the team, but I was responsible for bringing the data for that information, making decisions of what could we recommend to customers. But I was working with purchasing people, I had to work with the engineers, and I had to work with sales. Even though I was the one bringing the data, and I could say, look, this refrigerant or this oil combination damages our compressors. We should not use that. Or I think we ought to use this in combination. I wasn't the one to make the final decision. So I had to rely on their own individual expertise. And together, we were smarter and greater than the sum of our parts. And that's how I look at council. It's how I look at it being a team, whether going back to Sherry's question and answering Eric's question. On one, it's the bigger picture. So yeah, so we have to be strong. We're stronger together than we are individually, and recognize that each of us has some expertise that we bring to this situation.
Very good.
Ken, please describe how you would react to a situation in which the council voted 4-3 to approve a very contestable issue, and you were on the dissenting side.
I would be frustrated. I would be frustrated. And in the public, I would explain why I voted the way that I voted. And at that point, that's probably where the disagreement has to end. Because with everything that I've just said in answering the two previous questions, we're part of a team. And it would do me no good to go through and undermine in the community, on social media, or anybody that they made a stupid decision. No, we made the decision. This is how it's going to have to be, and now we all need to pull together to make sure that it's going to succeed. In the event that new information after a period of time, and that's relative, after a period of time that the decision was not a good decision, then I would hope that council would work to rectify it as quickly as possible. But then that would not give me and the other 32 people on my side room to gloat, because that's not what it's about. It's about moving our community forward in the best way possible. But once a decision is made, that's it. That's it.
Thank you.
Okay, Ken, could you name 3 qualities a council member should have?
I'd say the first one is humility. Council member here is one of 7. And really the only authority that we have, that I would have, that you all have, is the trust of the community and your vote on the council as it relates to the rest of the council. Having humility that you don't seek attention to elevate anything that you have done, that I would have done over the other side. The second one would be inquisitiveness. I think that a council member needs to be able to ask questions regarding issues as it affects others, and not just from their own perspective. It's important to be able to take what I think and set it out in front of me and kind of spin it around and look at it from as many perspectives as possible. Perspectives I agree with, perspectives I would disagree with. But it's important to be able to look at that as objectively as possible and be willing to take critique on that topic. And then make adjustments as necessary to that item or to that issue. My third one is tact. A council member represents both the village and the council. And I've watched you all make tough decisions. And I don't think in the time that I've been attending meetings, I've ever seen anybody from council be yelling and screaming, pointing their fingers at a community member. You've sat there graciously. It doesn't mean you can't have emotion, doesn't mean you can't raise your voice, it doesn't mean you can't speak with authority, because you do. But it's the ability to listen in spite of one's own personal emotions and then come to conclusions through that.
Thank you.
Gwen's got 2 actually for you.
I do.
Okay.
The first one you're aware of here, please describe how you would like the village of Blissfield to look in the next 5 years. And we'll just start with that one first.
Okay. Well, I think we need to continue focusing on our infrastructure. With also in relation to population growth. I think we need to have more people in our community. For more population, I'd like to see an increase in family housing. I'm not sure exactly what is the best way. I know that there are sections within our town that are farmed right now, that are within village limits that are farmed. It would be good, I think, if we could figure out how to get housing in those situations still within the village limits. And my main reason for saying that is to, because costs continue to increase, if we don't have more people to spread the cost around, then everybody that's within the village has to come up with those extra costs themselves. Whether that comes from people first and then, because with more people, you could have more opportunity for other businesses to come in, like small mom and pop stores, more restaurants. But also that's kind of would work hand in hand with light industrial. I don't know if we can expand our industrial park at all. But it would be good to have growth. We need people growth, but we also need reasons for people to come to be part of our community. And I think as a council member, it's important that we look at our policies to see that that kind of growth is permitted and not prohibited from happening. So I'd like to see us, I'd like to see our population increased in 5 years.
Thank you. The second question, please, is how do you approach decisions regarding events that involve alcohol?
I am in favor of them. I am a pastor. And as a pastor, I study and preach the word of God, the Bible. Drunkenness is considered a sin. It is not acceptable. Drinking is not drunkenness. I know that drinking inhibits reflexes, and I understand our rules that we have for drinking and driving. But alcohol in and of itself is not sinful. It is, but drunkenness is. And so I don't have an issue with alcohol, even though I myself rarely drink. If hardly ever, one drink, maybe two.
Thank you.
Last one, this is the one you've been waiting for. What 3 adjectives would you use to describe yourself?
I would say that I'm discerning. Had an incident just yesterday at our church's congregational business meeting. And the item that was up for discussion was increasing the administration council's spending limit. And the treasurer raised her hand very quickly and said, I don't think that this is a good idea, because I don't want people coming up to me with receipts and saying, I bought something for the church, I would need to be reimbursed. And I was listening to her, and I could tell she was very concerned about this topic. And after she was done, I said, the topic isn't about anybody coming up. It's strictly the council spending limit. Nobody should be able to come up to you with a receipt and say, I bought this for the church, now you reimburse me. But it took me a minute to figure out what it was that she was really concerned with. And so that's why I would say discerning. My other one is encouraging. Again, as on the boards that I have been on, quite often I have been the president or chairman of the board. And it is important when I was in those positions, as well as a coach, to encourage people and to encourage those that worked with me, and even within the process or within the organization, if they felt that they worked for me, it was important that I continue to encourage them, because I can't be everywhere and do everything. And so people have to be trusted to accomplish, to carry out their work. And so it's important that I would be encouraging to them to accomplish those tasks. And then the third one is I'm even keeled, pretty even tempered. I don't typically get real hot or angry. And when it comes to leadership, and when it comes to making decisions and assessing information, because I'm assuming right off the bat that everyone working with me is there for the same reason. And so it's a lot easier to see the truth of a matter if I'm more even keeled than if I'm way up or way down. Like, oh, that could never happen, or that's the greatest thing I've ever seen and ever heard, and this is what we ought to do. So that's why I'd say even temperature, even keel.
Anything else you want to share with council?
Thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate this. And let's go Blissfield.
Thank you. Bring everybody else back. Great. We're gonna go ahead and. Don't have any clarification questions, anything else? I'll go ahead and vote. We'll pass it down to Danielle and Taylor. You want to wait? You want to do it now, or you want to do it?
Yes, I think that's okay. I have it under new business, but whatever.
That's fine.
Your preference is.
Yep, we'll wait. All right, we'll move on to the agenda. We got a motion and a second to approve the agenda.
Move to approve the agenda as presented.
Or. We've been supported to approve the agenda for December 9th, 2024 as presented. Any discussion? Now, Lisa, please call roll.
Gwen,
Yes.
Sherry,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes. Carries. Up next is allow public to address the council if they wish to do so. Rule of 5 minutes. We can continue that if council so chooses. Is anyone that does want to address council available? We got your hand up, yes?
Oh, okay, are we addressing you now?
Yes. You would say your name.
Yeah, Caleb Lamley, 37 Cherry Street. I don't know if you guys saw our online post, I just want to take the time to address, we had a water main, water service line break, right, where they did the testing. Village, Danielle, you know, all of you handled it excellent over the weekend and got it taken care of. Quite happy. The only thing I would like to add going forward is we had, just why I went to your house, no way to contact anybody. So on the village website or somehow there should be some type of, I don't know, somebody has like a phone over the weekend, like where every weekend somebody else from the DPW has it or village, you know, somebody so that, because if I didn't know, you know, you lived up the street from me, our water bill would have been running till Monday full bore instead of, you know, turned down. Jason came out and turned it down, so we had enough water, so our house had pressure, but so the lake didn't get any bigger, that was all over Cherry Street. So
Here's your recommendation. Thank you.
yeah, so that'd be my only suggestion is some type of emergency contact you put on there, yeah. But DPW, everyone, they just did an outstanding job, took our calls, were there, cleanup crew came out, you know, it's outstanding job, so.
Thank you. Anyone else that was to address council? Now we'll move on to unfinished business. Anybody have anything they want to talk about?
I do, no one else does. Okay, last time we met, we had talked about, changing seats, with new council coming on board. And we talked about it, but we didn't talk about it. We kind of, you know, spoke a little bit about why we didn't change it and stuff like that. I talked with Danielle when would be the appropriate time because we didn't vote on this. We had just kind of a little discussion. So since it was not voted on, we determined that this would be a good time to, perhaps revisit this. I just did some thinking from my own perspective as a teacher. I go ahead with my students and we do change seats every 2 weeks. And I do that, obviously, in my, it's obvious to me, is that, that way the kids have somebody new always to talk to. They get that opportunity to make some new friends. If it's someone that they have never worked with before, give them that opportunity to meet someone. If it's someone that would not be their first choice to sit by, well, they would be only by that person for 10 days. So they could get through that. It obviously does a whole lot of social things from a school setting. But then I started looking at, well, what would it be from an adult perspective? And I think it really does kind of coincide with what we do here as a council. And of course, I have something written down. Changing seats when a new council is elected, I think can bring a fresh start and a new energy to the group. Okay. It mixes things up, giving everyone a chance to work alongside different people. I've enjoyed working alongside the people that I've been sitting by. That's not the reason for this. I wanted to make that clear for both Kim and for Bill. Okay, I didn't want anybody to hear this to get hurt. They may be saying, good God, we get to move away. Thank you. But it may not be that way at all. Anyhow, it gives everyone a chance to work alongside different people and maybe spark some new ideas. It's a simple way to mark the beginning of a new term, and it helps everyone feel like they're starting kind of like on equal ground. Okay, the president, of course, you would have your seat in the middle, that's just kind of a
I'll find the end.
kind of a thing. You may want to make that move, okay, that's because you do like that end down there, that is true. Moving seats can also, I think, improve communication by encouraging conversations with different members and make it easier for newcomers to feel comfortable. And we do have, obviously, another newcomer coming on our board here, as Sherry just came on, as well as a new person this evening. Plus, I think it also helps to avoid any feelings of favoritism or perhaps any old tensions by creating a fair, balanced environment where everyone can work together. So that is my 2 cents on that. I just think that I'd like to just revisit it.
I'm gonna comment about the seat switch as well. I would be for it. After being a cheerleading coach for 10 years. When I did my Sign Live cheerleaders, I made them switch every week. Nobody stood by the same. And they didn't know where they were standing until the night of the game. Mainly because they didn't girls, but I like your idea. Being different. I mean, at the beginning with all of us being, well, 2 of us being potentially doing stuff. And it does, like, I may never know Bill very well if I'm not anywhere near him.
Maybe you don't want to.
But I think it's good, not only as council members sitting beside each other, but the people coming to the meetings and stuff, why are they always being together? Are they in cahoots, I don't know. That's just my opinion.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I feel comfortable sitting here, but I do like what you just said. I do like what you just said because, I mean, there can be little side conversations going on in it. Presentation is everything, so that could look like something is underhanded going on.
Right, and if you have someone from the council meetings all the time and you see that, you might, and nothing's probably actually happening, but the
Presentation is
perception.
everything.
Eric, anyone?
I'm not opposed to it if that's what, we'd like to move forward with.
We're to start about for a term, correct? That too, not like hot potato every meeting.
No, I was saying about. No, my assumption was a two-year term, as we will have another election in 2 years, so it'll be kind of a rotation with a 2-year election.
Who's gonna determine the seating?
I was thinking, I was gonna say,
Yeah, do you want me to
number
mix
your
them up?
seats, and then, we could number the seats, and then Danielle has a piece of paper and draws a name, and that's where it would be seating. As president, I would think that if Mike does want to move to the end, that would be his choice. If he wants to stay to the middle as a president, I think that would be your choice. I think that, in my opinion, the president should have that option of what works best for him.
Want to make it easy and let the staff handle it, and we'll come back in 2 weeks and see what we got. I know you guys have enough on your plate, so that's my only concern. I know you don't want to keep moving us around.
I'm
whatnot,
bringing
so.
a shield this
Yeah.
time.
Next thing will be January meeting.
Or we could wait and have, I think it's a new.
We'll just fill it, we'll fill the board and then start fresh. Okay,
Good.
that works.
Thank you for the consideration, guys. Thank you.
Thanks. Anything else, Gwen?
No, sir.
Okay, anybody else, unfinished business? Okay, we will move on to new business. We've got payroll in front of us. $164,653.87. We need a motion.
Move to approve the payroll register for November 2024 in the amount of $164,653.87.
Support.
A motion and support to approve the payroll register for November 2024, amount $164,653.87. Any discussion? Hearing none, Lisa, call roll.
Tim,
Yes.
Sherry,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes, motion carries. Next would be to pay the bills for the month.
Move to approve the accounts payable for the period of 11/12/24 to 12/10/2024 in the amount of $883,000, $418.30.
Support. Sherry support.
Bill, you got her first, sorry.
Sherry can have it.
Okay. All right, motion Eric, second Sherry, to approve the accounts payable for a period of 11/12/2024 to 12/10/2024 in the amount $883,418.30. Any discussion or questions? I do, November 11th, we paid Underwood Nursery for a Christmas tree, $725. Did that get paid or did it?
I'm sorry, did it get paid or what?
It was on the bills from November 11th, because I just remember seeing that price and being a little questionable about that, and now it's on this month's bills. Has it been paid, or is that a carryover, or are we?
It's
is it a
been
duplicate?
paid.
So are we subtracting $725 from that bill, from that total?
I think
We approved it in November.
was on your report 2 times in a row.
Oh,
You know why, or,
no, I do not know why.
well,
Unless the
make sure
date that I
that-
ran it, it showed up differently.
well, is only being paid 1 time, so we'll just double check that and make sure. Why it was.
I
on
didn't
both
understand your
reports.
question. I'm sorry.
It was on the November 11th bills, and it's on tonight's bills for $725.
Okay,
We only owe it once.
correct.
We do not owe another $725.
So a friendly amendment, I guess, would be in order if you guys are okay with that. Just to pay it as such as needed. You're okay with the,
I'm okay with that.
okay? Sure.
Yes.
All right, any further comments, questions? Lisa, please call roll.
Gwen,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Sherry,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes. Motion carries. Up next is the annual 2025 annual permit, just allows us to do the maintenance, parades, flags, etc. Something we do every year, just be continuation.
I'll move to approve the MDOT annual permit resolution and authorize the village clerk to execute all related documents on behalf of the governing body and to apply to the Michigan Department of Transportation for the necessary permits to work within the state trunk line US 223 right of way for 2025.
Support.
Got a motion and support to approve the MDOT annual permit resolution as presented. Any questions, comments? Hearing none, Lisa, please call roll.
Sherry,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Gwen.
Yeah.
Mike,
Yes, motion carries. Up next, to approve consulting for fee analysis of water and sewer rates. This in regards to not only ZFS, but also sort of, as we had discussed, to again, get the best bang for the buck on how much we produce, how much we sell. We do have Brian here from ZFS. If you do want to talk about this with council, otherwise, if not, I guess we have a recommendation from, well, we don't have a recommendation, but we do have a couple,
I think Daniel had something she might.
Daniel, yes?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
So I just wanted to, I know we kind of briefly talked about this at the last meeting because you guys had asked about progress on working with the ZFS there in Riga on the fees. So we do have two proposals that are attached to the agenda for you. I did reach out to Manor as well, who does our auditing right now. They did let us know that they have the ability to submit a proposal. They're more than willing to do that. However, they did recommend, yes, I said it wrong too. They said that they do this a lot more frequently than Manor does. They have a lot of experience and just came highly recommended. So if you guys wanted a proposal from them, we could get that, but I told them based on that recommendation, that I didn't feel like I needed one. He also thought that their pricing probably would not beat they'd probably be a little bit higher just because they do lack that experience, so they would not be as efficient at it. With that being said, I did put council's pleasure on here. My recommendation would actually be to award to Benzinski as the lowest, I'm hacking that name. Because they were the lowest proposal. ZFS and Brian or Colin, they're both here from ZFS, can address this a little bit better. I don't want to speak for them, but have indicated that they would be willing to reimburse the village for this. I think that I've looked at these fees. I've worked with Nora and Brent and Steve. Nora, I would say probably the most extensively, if she's here too, if you have questions, and we've really gone through this. I've sent you guys some information and I'm more than happy to resend that, but there's just some things that I'm not comfortable with, exactly the best way to proceed or what the best practice is with these fees. So I do think it would be beneficial for us to have an outsider look at this and just make sure that we are looking at things that may be helpful to ZFS, but also set the village up for the future too. We don't want to make a decision based on what we think is correct and then in 10 years regret that. And I think that's kind of my concern is I want to make sure long-term we're still doing what's right for our residents. On the plus side, I think that doing this, I know we've had Michigan Rural Water look at our fees, and I'm not saying anything, I think they do a wonderful job and appreciate that, but it gives us another perspective. So I think the village really walks out of this, I think, better with more information. And I appreciate ZFS being really willing to help us pay for this, but I think it helps them as well. But if you have questions, Nora is here as well. If you have questions for her, I will help answer them. Or again, when anything ZFS specific, Brian or Colin can answer that.
Anyone have questions regarding the proposal? I guess my question, Danielle's going back to the things that I've talked about in the past, does this just encompass a large scale water user, or are we looking at a little bit bigger picture of, say, okay, maybe we were to produce water and sell it to another municipality and treat sewer? Are there going to be different sort of, I know there's a lot of tangibles to, what we produce and what we bring back in on both the water and the sewer side, but are they giving us different recommendations or different scenarios as to say, this is the cost, if you're gonna run 3 shifts at the plant, your plant's gonna have more wear and tear. How do we offset the costs to make it the most efficient, I guess, the operation? So again, I've talked about, not that I'm ever saying they want water, but if we were to build another tower, say we provided them water, they treat their sewer, or if we treat their sewer, they already are connected to the county system. So I love the idea behind how do we help ZFS, but again, this is something I want to see how are we most efficient with a consultant across the, across your utilities, both water and sewer.
So I don't believe that it will encompass that, but I do know that's something that you guys want to see, and that's something we've talked about. So I'm going to kind of separate this wastewater treatment plant. We are doing that master plan that includes a capacity study portion, and that's part of that master planning where the engineers are looking at it to say, what is that, what is our ability or capacity to treat water And then we kind of go from there. On the water side, we have the reliability study that's been drafted. We did send that back for some changes. And that talks about what we can, and we know our capacity at water. What the fee consultant is going to do is they're going to take they will look at what our cost is going to be to provide that, because we're gonna have to go through budget. We're gonna have to go through what are our future capital needs, what's our debt currently and things like that. So they're gonna help us to identify what's the appropriate fee to make sure that we're properly funding those, or the incremental cost to ZFS. But it's hard to I don't know that a fee consultant can put out because they don't know what that is. So they aren't going to know what our capacity at either plant is. So they could put out, I don't want to say infinite, but thousands of different scenarios without knowing what it is we would be, like what's the amount that we're selling. They need more specific.
So we can provide that to them, what we're rated at, water and sewer, correct? I mean, that's pretty.
And they will get that information, yes.
Okay. So for the 19, it's generally, again, this is sort of focused on ZFS, it's more of the water side. They don't send back a lot of sewer, so it's more of a large scale water study.
It is water and sewer, both, not just water. They will specifically look at the incremental cost to ZFS, but they have to look at our system as a whole. So they cannot look at just a large user like ZFS. They have to look at the entire system. And that's what I was saying, really, we kind of come out of this it's a benefit to us too, because it's going to be a full analysis of our water and sewer fees, not just for ZFS.
But if they produce like they had in the past with previous operators, they don't send back a lot of sewage, hardly any. Most of that water is utilized, however, in the process. So that doesn't change the whole course. It's mainly about the water. And can we successfully sell bulk water to them?
Yes, I would agree with that. I mean, so one of the big questions that we have with the sewer specifically is ZFS, I think on a couple different occasions has said that what they send back is they discharge in rivers, it's clean water, or I don't know, is it cleaner than non-contact water? But we do know as staff that when the plant was running, we did have some issues out at the wastewater treatment plant. So we are working with CFS to try to narrow down where was that coming from. Was it coming from them and they were sending water that isn't as clean as they thought? Was it coming from one of those offshoot businesses like Airgas or something like, and Airgas is just an example, and we're trying to figure out why we had an impact when they were running, because when they stopped, we stopped being that. But again, we'll continue working with them on those things. So there is a sewer question out there, but I definitely do think that water is more complex to look at as a whole when we're looking at the fees.
This study that we're looking at would be more in-depth than what we've ever received from Michigan Rural Water.
Yes.
And that's looking at one source water only, correct? I mean, that's all we have, that's all we produce, drinkable potable water. We don't have any other solutions, so.
Yeah, this would not be looking at, I mean, they are going to look at how we pull water now and what our cost is to do that.
Brian, Colin, regarding such?
Just, I guess to kind of summarize, I guess, our view and what our understanding of what we're doing, coming out of the committee of the whole meeting in September, our understanding was our message was we were asking to look at what the cost to serve our volumes are, to look at potential change to the rate the plant would be on, to see how we can cover that kind of cost and justify restarting the plant. So our understanding was that council wanted and Daniel and staff wanted professional independent analysis of the system today and what it would change with or without us, to have more confirmation and knowledge about what that is to protect the village of Blissfield. And so after that, we've been working now for a couple of months to identify who was best, and between everybody, these two came up to be the most qualified and available. So that's part of why I think it was brought up that we'll pay for it too, is what we're looking at. The reason we think it's fair we pay is it does include a little extra to look at the incremental difference with just our volume added to the system versus not, which is a little in addition to a normal study. But in order to do that, they have to look at your whole system too. So it does look like it'll fulfill you having another opinion going in more depth on your overall system and the rates for everybody, as well as giving you professional opinion of what rate, if possible, could it be lower by, and still make sure that we're covering all of our costs plus and contributing to system. But what does that look like? So that's kind of a recap, I guess, on how we've been looking at it overall. And including wastewater also, to look at the cost to serve there, where the numbers that had a good meeting today. Basically, the way the rate is set up today would be 800,000 for water and 275,000 for wastewater, and that's a big amount of overhead, $1 million, pushing $1.1 million. So is there room where there's a big gap in there where it can be lower than that, for us to look at having it work for our budget and operating expense?
You concur with everything he said, right, Danielle? That's good.
I do.
Okay. That's a good, that's a good yes.
She gets the final word.
Yeah. She's going.
And just run them, kind of what they offered, much like when we met with the original developers, Great Lakes, whoever it was at the time. They promised us this, and we provided them maybe 50 to 75% of what they originally gave us. So again, a couple tiers on, it makes sense for us to sell this, but if you only take half, or if you only take a quarter of what's promised, I don't want to be dumbfounded, and I certainly don't want the residents to be dumbfounded that, we're kind of screwed with that situation.
Where you're geared up to do more volume than they ended up taking?
Correct, yes.
Well, we've been looking at working on that too, and it's between 175 million to 200 is what it's historically been. So now with that experience, we shouldn't have, I don't know what they said 18, 20 years ago, but they had a much higher number there now. Now with the experience, that shouldn't be that drastic of a difference. We're hoping to make improvements over time if we can restart. But I don't see it being 50% different than that. Maybe within 20% would be the expectation either way.
I think what we heard today was that we're about the same size as the village use. Approximately in a year. So effectively doubling.
The water.
Right, produced water.
Yeah, it's a little more than double than what we need, because you're looking at about 500,000 for.
Near 460.
Yeah, the hard part is knowing the cost side of the distribution with just one large user with a lot of process capacity being used, but not hopefully driving much of the distribution cost. But there's some unanswered questions I think no one has on that, but.
Well, it's a good first step. I think it's the right thing to do. Obviously, we don't want to dig ourselves into a hole. So, we might as well just know the facts and the numbers from the get-go on how we need to move forward with that, so.
Nor anything that you would, being part of the team, anything that you, comments, concerns, questions, or anything you would like us to know?
I will make sure when Danielle and I meet with them, my capital improvement plans are looked at, because that's my biggest concern is infrastructure. My plant is already going on 25 years.
Right.
So, as well as Mike has alluded to at the last committee of the whole, is we already know what Eagle's gonna want from us. So we need to start there, not kind of backpedal into that. So.
Gotcha.
And staff will, Nora, Brent, Steve, all of them will be, Brandon, a part of this. It's not, I will not be providing all of this information. Sorry.
Thanks, Nora.
Anyone else?
Yep.
Ready to go?
Move to award the study to Benzinski in the amount of 19,000.
I'll support.
Okay, we got a motion and a second to award Benzinski consulting for 19,000 for the water and sewer rate study. And we do appreciate CFS willing to pay for that. Throw that in there.
Sure.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, Lisa, please call roll.
Tim,
Yes.
Sherry,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes,
Bill,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes, that motion carries.
thanks guys
Thanks, gentlemen.
for your information as well.
All right, now we will move on to the filling of the council vacancy. Got the list in front of us. We did have the interviews. Fill them out, have the email tally, and we'll move forward with that. Again, I want to thank everybody for their interest. And good luck. Everybody's clear on the list, right? How we're doing? Okay. While he's doing that, also, again, there are a lot of boards, a lot of committees, et cetera, that people are, you know,
Mhm.
planning commission's got some openings, so again, we do appreciate volunteers and people that do put forth the effort. Not always needs a job, but thanks for the interest. Staying involved.
Make sure I don't have a typo or.
All right, Colin, you guys, I'll let you fully understand that too. Get that. If you want to stay, more than welcome, but if you don't want to, okay.
So we have. Ken Nichols with 19, Jennifer Lamley with 17, Diane with 13, and Carson with 11. for scores.
Guess we didn't really say how we were gonna go about it. We're gonna assume that we're gonna make the motion as previous and go with the highest candidate, or I guess.
Or just this, we actually just have to recommend motion move to appoint.
Well, the name is blank.
Right.
Right.
So that is how you've used the voting forms in the past, is you made the motion for the highest candidate.
Well, then I would move to appoint Ken Nichols to serve on the village council until the next regular village council election in November of 2026.
All right, got a motion and a support to appoint Ken Nichols to council for the remainder of the session until, sorry, I'll get for almost that one. November 2026. Any discussion?
I would just like to explain my vote to Ken that back in the candidate forum that we had before the election. Ken had said he was not in favor of 24/7 police coverage. When, as I understand, the residents of this village were asking for that 24/7. So I just want to explain my vote, yeah.
Anybody else? At least, please call roll.
Bill,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Tim,
No.
Sherry,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
Mike,
No, that motion carries. And congratulations again to the others. Please stay involved. Sign up for committees. Continue being interested. Ken will swear you in to the next regular meeting. That is January
Yes, so 13.
13th. Moving on. Somewhere. Rotary, East Pole. Rotary is willing to contribute or donate the cost of placing a peace pole in O'Mara Park. They would pay for the installation and the sidewalk, correct?
Yes.
And the village would again pay for the maintenance down the line currently. As well as, this is something that you can scan, I believe, right, and see the different peace poles that are located throughout the
It does have
throughout
a
the world, actually.
QR code on it, yes. So I did send council a few photos of different ones, in other communities. Just via email earlier today. I think it was the second one that had the sidewalk around it. It was kind of what we wanted it to, or what Rotary wanted it to look like. And I did get another question to it, and I apologize for not following up, where exactly in O'Mara Park? Rotary did not pick specifically. I was going, if you guys do approve it, I was going to work with Brent to place it somewhere where it made sense that it wouldn't impact their like plowing or irrigation or anything like that, but would connect to the existing sidewalks. So wherever kind of made the most sense. Obviously, if you guys have input or preference, let me know. But the Rotary would pay for this. We would take over maintenance of the sidewalk. I did at the Rotary meeting talk about if the pole was damaged or something, then that would go back to the Rotary if they wanted to replace it or do something different with that. Hopefully it's not damaged if it's replaced and it's taken care of. This did go to Parks and Rec as well for their consideration or recommendation, you guys, and they were good with it being located in O'Mara Park, but if you guys have questions, let me know.
Place in Michigan to have one.
Oh, cool.
Well, there's actually one there at the Methodist Church in Richter. That's one of the things we talked about at the Parks and Rec.
Yes, there is one right here on. It is not a Rotary one, so it's not part of their network of peace poles. I think it must be just somebody at the church that installed it.
I think they're cool.
I definitely think Rotary, I think it's a good idea. And again, I guess just being involved in, in DDA and design committee, et cetera. I really am a stickler for the detail, and I like to see where this goes. Because it's not just them. Yes, everything kind of seems to just be do it. And then it falls back on the village to maintain it or whatever without overall plan or process. I know I'm probably just stirring this up, but the architects designed that park to be, the linear form and have the trails, et cetera. We've talked at the design committee level of putting in arch slabs, so we could have rotating art. So again, it's just these sort of things that I really want us to say. When we do something, what is the plan? What is the vision? What is what is the drawn out overall plan on how we're gonna go about this, then rather than flop a dog park here or do this or do that. And again, that long-term sort of planning, I think will help us out. Other than that, I don't want O'Mara Park to become Rotary Park. Certainly, you would rather see a clock at an intersection or somewhere you stop rather than, in the middle of a park where you're going 30 miles an hour. So again, not trying to poo-poo on anything, but just bigger planning, bigger picture, and more so, I'm a big fan of pictures. This is what it looks like. This is where it's gonna go. This is what we want to do. And again, I certainly don't want to, negate any of the donors or anything like that, because we've had some great things. We've had, the swings in the park, and we've got potential lighting of March Fish, that kind of thing. I don't want it to sound as a detriment, but again, it's part of the process, and it's part of the bureaucracy of government that everybody hates, but it's for a reason. So that's all I'm gonna say, rant about that. But again, I do like the idea, and thank you to the Rotary. Again, I'd love to see the trees replaced, by the way, but.
Yes, it's on my list. And if you guys approve this, Mike, I will call you down there to meet with Ron and I when we decide what it's gonna do.
All I know is the design committee was considering a art area in the bigger area, like towards the Methodist church, so maybe on the other side.
Yeah.
I'm not sure the sidewalk's necessary, but whatever we want to do.
That's kind of wondering the same thing, how the sidewalks already are. It would seem like the peace pole could be somewhat close to that, so there wouldn't have to be extra sidewalk.
And we would, if we don't need it, we would not do that. What we didn't want to do is put a pole in the middle of the yard and have nothing, it just, yes.
I think, Mike, though, you do make very good comments with everything that you stated regarding, we don't want things willy-nilly. There needs to be a plan and action. This was not something that was in the big scope of the plan, I don't know anywhere in our village, but I do think that being cognizant of some of the issues that have been in the past, that we are being much more proactive and looking towards the bigger picture. But I agree. Not in the master plan, I'm not always sure we need to do those things.
Do you think that maybe we would do a sidewalk off the current one to the pole? If we do that, like an extension?
That was the thought, and depending where and again, we did not, Rotary didn't have exact placement, they just thought generally that part. But that was the thought, yes, is that if it sat off of that, the sidewalk could connect to that. If we're able to place it next to a current one, then we wouldn't do anything additional, but that's something we'll have to look at.
I certainly don't want to take away from the O'Mara name, because they did donate that property that was, to potentially do a village office center in the past, but that was a good to the village as well, so. Peaceful can kind of go anywhere, but I totally get Rotary stuff behind it.
I move council to approve the placement of peace pole and a sidewalk installation within O'Mara Park. Support.
Moving supported to approve the placement of a peace pole and sidewalk installation within O'Mara Park from the Rotary. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Lisa, please call roll.
Sherry,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes. That motion carries.
I need Mike for just a brief
Yes,
comment.
ma'am.
I know, Danielle, that you are the president now of Rotary, correct? And my guess is that within that duty to share with them the capital improvements and things like that that the village is always looking for. Example, I think my district you're alluding to is like other playgrounds and things like that. I mean, I get a peaceful, beautiful thing, not taking anything away from that, but if they're looking for some specific things that also go within our goals, that it'd be great if they could help us on that particular list, because that is part of our goal. And that's one of the things I know that we as council have tried to really strive for. When things are not part of our capital improvement plan or part of our goal to, really look at them with a fine tooth comb. And not that we're not appreciative, but it'd be having that list of items that we've already identified. Thank you.
So that is shared with them. So Rotary did approve a major and a smaller for what they're considering a major and smaller project. So they did help us fund the step planter plant replacement and upgrades there. That was their smaller project. Their larger one is the Rotary Shelter Pavilion Group.
Thank you.
So prior to the club selecting those projects, I did share with them the capital projects that the village had as to help give them some information or guidance. Since then, some things have come up. Obviously, the Rotary they received a significant donation from the Sliker family, which then contributed to the bridge lighting, because that was something that family was passionate about. And another one of our club members brought up this peace pole and just thought it was a really cool project. The pole itself is $350, so it's pretty insignificant cost. Obviously, if we do
Right.
sidewalk, that's a little bit more expensive, but I do share that with them. And I'll continue to do so even when I'm no longer president for the Rotary.
Thank you. I knew that you did, but.
Yes.
What a plug. Thank you.
Yes, again, thank you to them, for that pathway that would have been there, the walk trail,
Yep.
certainly without the Rotary, so they do a lot of good, so thank you.
Absolutely.
Next, we do have a recommendation, to approve a 1 month water shop suspension over the holidays. This is like we've done the past couple of years. And, hopefully Danielle, with the new meters being implemented, this should be the last time we would have to do this, correct?
I don't know, because we don't have auto shut offs, so we would still have to go out and shut the meter off. With the new meters, if they don't pay. We did purchase with this project 100 auto shut offs, which can be done remotely, but, that's not for. And we did specifically select like rental properties or properties who have one service line, like a duplex, so that we could shut it. We needed to shut one side off and not the other.
You won't make any promises at this time.
Yes.
Okay. That's fair. I would move to suspend water shutoffs for 1 month in December 2024.
Support.
We would support that council suspend the water shut-offs for 1 month of December 2024 through the holidays. To help staff keep up with that, issue, I guess. Any further discussion? Still don't like it? Think people need to pay their bills as part of the process, but it is what it is, so.
And they are still assessed the penalties and interest if we do not pay. And really, we've not seen a huge impact with this. Most of our residents the last several years do continue to pay because they know if they get behind again, it's just delaying it 1 month. They'll be shut off in January and then be behind 3 months instead of the 2. And Brandon, and we looked at this just to see if we were seeing a huge impact with that, and it was, like I said, it was minimal.
All right, any further questions, comments? Well, Lisa, please call roll.
Bill,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Sherry,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes, motion carries. Up next, we'll move on to reports. Danielle, you're on first.
If you have any questions, let me know.
Anybody have questions on any of the reports? Any of our treasurer, volunteer?
Brent has training. Are on the way.
Okay.
Brent has training. So.
Nobody?
It's not on this report, but Laura's here right now, and Laura, you had sent a placer report. Wow,
That's something.
yes. A whole lot of information. I don't know if you guys had a chance to read that, and I know Sherry, maybe with the computer you have, you can see that in the past email or something. I'm not, I don't have my computer set up for that right now, my
So
apologies.
I didn't bring it because I didn't know you were gonna.
No, I just, while you're here, I just wanted to say.
It's part of our association with Michigan Main Street. It's a
Right.
service that they give us for free that costs about $14,000 if we would pay for it ourselves. And they have the ability to let us know where visitors are from, to help us with the advertising. They tell us how many visitors visit our town over a year, over a particular event. It's an amazing.
Where did you get all that information? I mean, and I just,
So
how
they
did
take
I put you
cell
on?
phones, so they can't say when Dusa was here, but they'll say a unique user from Blissfield was here, and so they'll ping the cell phones. And they can tell if you're from Columbus, or if you're from Toledo, or if you're from Ann
I was
Arbor.
curious how they got that information.
It's fascinating, it's kind of scary, actually.
Yeah.
But that is it's how big box stores know where to advertise, where to put their businesses. It is a fabulous tool.
Yeah.
It certainly helps because it's something we talk about every year. What
Exactly.
DDA is, do we advertise in the, the radio, the
Correct.
newspaper,
Mhm.
WPL, whatever, so it's definitely a tool that
Yeah,
comes from.
and for a
MEDC.
small entity like Blissfield, that's out of our purview for affordability, and so Michigan Main Street does a tremendous amount of things for us just by being, and now we're a redevelopment ready community, and so it's even more advantageous to us, so.
The timeframes, the days of the week where the shopping takes place.
Yes.
Some of it is just we surmise this, but this is actually proven, you've got data to prove it.
This is the
And,
data,
and that's, if you got the data, that just speaks volumes.
yeah.
And showing what goes on, I was just like, wow, I mean, if somebody says, DDA doesn't do anything, or the money, because it's always a fair question.
Sure.
Where does the money go? Where is it spent? Do we get the bang for the buck? And that really does illustrate where things go, and where things are. So
A great tool.
kudos,
Great tool.
kudos. I didn't mean, again, put you on the spot. I just wanted to bring that up since you were here and we were talking about, going like that. Thank you.
Interesting.
Anybody else? Questions? Council discussion. Anybody have anything else we want to talk about?
Dan, I think you had spoke to like our first water bill with the new meters, it's gonna be zero usage. Then the next month, it'll be for 2 months.
So it will not be zero, okay. What we learned last month, we did not know BSNA would do this, is that people who had their meter replaced, we imported those reads from their old meter, and then it imports or automatically uploads the zero read for their brand new one, because everybody's starting fresh now. And the bills don't show both reads, it just shows the last read that was entered, which is zero because it's the most current. Brandon worked with BSNA, so in the future, when people are getting meters changed, it'll list both of those reads, moving forward. We just did not know that last month. And then, specifically, we do have our test meters, which were Mike and Eric, sorry, their meters are zero and they will have double usage. And that is because of a read import issue that I was working with USG on, and we do have that fixed.
Well, I do believe mine is zero also.
Yeah.
I'll look at yours, because I believe yours is it's the mix, it's the old one, but I think it's showing the zero on your new one, and I think that goes through your timing. But I will look at yours specifically and I would just share again with any of our residents, if they have questions about that, please call me or stop here and we can look at your account together and I will answer any questions that you have. But I'll take a peek at yours then. I'm going off memory, so.
I had a question for the police chief. Is our cadet, when is he going to school? Or is he in school now? I'm not sure.
We were trying to get him into the academy in January. We weren't able to get that done, so we're looking at the next academy. The academy that we were looking at doesn't have it until May, but that doesn't mean I can't send him somewhere else, so we're trying to see where we can get him in.
Okay. All right, thank you. I'm just looking at getting where it can be on patrol on his own.
You go.
Thank you.
But
No, I don't think it's Jackson.
sure. I guess talk about the water meters. Again, we get beat up by a lot of people just because they, again, we really gotta be on our game on this, and I'm not trying to fault anyone, but showing the zeros on the bills just adds fuel to the fire of negativity, you know what I mean? Once we get this stuff solved, it'll be great, but you know, I don't know how we missed that, but again, is it, you know, I know it's not faulting the village, but that company, I'm sure has worked with BSNA before. Why were those numbers not rolled in? Now you got people that are saying, I'm getting billed this, but I don't know my reads, et cetera. What are we doing? It's just pie in the face for us when, you know, we're really trying to clean
It's kind
things
of
up.
face because they don't come and talk to Danielle.
Right.
That's why it's kind of face.
It is, but it just gets people riled up when those numbers should have been on the reads.
So USG has worked with other communities that use BSNA, but they don't see any of our bills. So as we're going through this process, that they've not seen one of ours. And I don't think they see the bills from the other communities. So we have been working with USG and BSNA to make sure everything's imported. That's something we did not even think about. We were so focused on making sure that the meters were reading correctly and that all of the import criteria, like what is required to import into BSNA from Aclara was accurate. So it's just something that we just did not know until the bills were sent out that it would even do that. Honestly, it's not even something we thought about. Like, we never thought to think, oh, well, it print both of those usage on there, because when we do bills normally, it's just the one and it's not come up as before or in the past. And I don't know.
I know we don't want to go through 1,500, but we didn't catch that. So a lot of them said 0. Water, sewer, 0, and I had a cost of about.
Well, because the cost was correct for their usage, so it doesn't flag that for us, like we're going through and looking. We see the usage on our BSNA, so it's when we didn't go through every single postcard to look at that, no. Because we're looking at it on the computer where it's recording, yeah, so to us, it's showing it when we look at that. And that's what, if anybody has questions, if they come in, I can show them on BSNA where it's showing what their actual usage for both of those meters are listed out. And it's only going to be the month that they switch over, because then moving forward, you're only gonna have one read from your new meter now.
Or if they create an account on BSNA, that account, they can see their usage on it, they were seeing it.
And I totally understand that, but again, you know, the negativity with this whole process, and again, we need to be on our game, we need to make sure that every bill that comes out.
That there's some negativity about it, but I also think that people and council and the rest of staff need to understand that we are human. We are doing a ton of different things, and we're not maliciously or purposely going in there and saying, I'm gonna make sure it only prints one usage because that'll really mess with people. I mean, we are truly trying to do the right thing and trying to get through this, but we're human and we're going to have things that we just did not think of, or it didn't even occur to us that that would be an issue. But I feel confident that we can come to you and say, yeah, it was an issue, it's already fixed. So moving forward, we're not going to continue to see it. And I think that needs to be the takeaway, is that we identified it and we corrected it.
Is there a possibility of doing an email to the residents or putting it on the village website stating, these are issues that we've had, we are aware of them. What's up with that?
We can do that, and we tried to do that when we had the water break and we had that couple extra days with the read. What our experience has been is that it actually increases and almost adds fuel to some of those frustrations and concerns. So it's been our experience that sometimes backfires. We do try to share information, and get that out there, but again, it's that fine line of, because I think sometimes people, it's hard to explain it to where they understand and it doesn't create more issues. And we don't always respond to comments and things, 'cause again, we're just doing other things and.
I think you hit. Now they had those, is the problem has been addressed, and going forward, they're with a volume of 1,300 approximately numbers that you're dealing with. Anytime you start anything out, you know there are gonna be glitches. I mean, that's just a given, that's.
Especially with technology.
Yes, but
Exactly.
Eric and I are the ones that have the zeros and we should be up there tipping the podium over, that's my point is.
But you should now be that role model and say, look, I recognize there's an issue, and I know that it's gonna be rectified, and you have the direct contact with, with Danielle on that. And.
And get the information out better, and that's what,
Well, I don't
we're
know,
working on
I think the
100%.
information's out there, I think it's just people seriously not connecting with our office, as we have said so many times.
And I did like, moving up from that, I love Mr. Lamley's comment on call phone or call out page, something like that. Just getting knocked at the door. I thought the same thing when I called Brent, so I if we have to pay to have somebody on call, it is what it is. It's necessary, the emergencies happen, and there needs to be a chain of command where people can make contact.
On the water treatment website, there is a 24-hour, my cell phone's on there. I did let Caleb know also, they were speaking.
Anybody else? Okay. Second public comment, anybody? No, been here long enough, correct? All right, we're at adjournment, we need a motion for that.
Motion to adjourn at 8:45 p.m.
All right, motion, second Sherry to adjourn at 8:45. Please call roll.
Gwen,
Yeah.
Tim,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Sherry,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Mike.
Yes. Motion carried, we're adjourned.